Welcome back, everyone! Today's question for day 23. For digital, what program do you use? And how many layers does a typical piece require? So I use Photoshop for my digital work, and it's just because that is what I learned in college. So it's the first digital program that I learned and became used to. So it's kind of the one thing that I know the ins and outs of, at least for what I use it for. I also have Painter, which I would love to learn and use more, but it's just slightly frustrating because I'm not as used to it. So I do have Painter. I don't generally use it, so for the purpose of this video, I'm mostly referencing Photoshop for all my digital work. So when I do digital stuff, a long time ago, when I was still learning, I found that I would have like anywhere from like 30 to 60 different layers. And what that basically came down to was easily possible disaster at every turn. It was so easy to mess up a layer. It was too easy to paint on the wrong layer, to draw on the wrong layer. And then you have different layer styles and something's not like blending right. And what I think would happen was I would get to a certain point in an illustration. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to add this thing, but I'll put it on a new layer just in case I mess it up, and ruin it and I don't like it. That way I can just delete that layer. Over time, I started just flattening the layers together. So I might make a new layer, draw a new piece of the illustration on that, and then flatten it down once I knew I liked it. And that's still something that I will do in my digital work. But over time, I started to move away from cel-shaded artwork that I did, in my earlier years when I did more anime and cel-shaded style, like animation type things. And I began to approach digital more along the lines of how I do my traditional paintings. So a traditional painting is on one layer, no matter what. For digital, you have the option of multiple layers, but it can get tricky. And I've been wanting to have my digital work resemble something more closely to my traditional paintings, which meant trying to keep everything on a single layer. That's not exactly what I do, though. I probably still have anywhere from 10 to 20 layers in total, but I try to flatten everything as often as I can. And I will instead create folders with a few layers in each folder. One folder for the sky, one for the background, one for the foreground, and one for the characters or character. And that's just so if I need to, I can resize and move a character or resize things or lighten and darken things a lot easier if I just need to focus on one section of the painting. But I try my best to keep everything within those folders and as few layers as possible, just to prevent confusion and to prevent accidentally editing something in a wrong way. So yeah, it's not so much that it requires that many. Like if I really want to, I could just do one layer and it would be fine. It just means that I might not be able to go back and edit something as easily. But I think what happens with digital and having 100,000 layers is that it's this mindset that that you can undo something if you don't like it. So it can be easier to just create a new layer rather than really think about what you're doing and having and putting down the brush with intent, which is something you have to do with traditional. Like you have to really think about what you lay down on the canvas, because a lot of the times you can't. It's not as easy to edit. So with digital, I try to approach it the same way. Try to do things with more intent. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Alright, that wraps it up. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!